has become master of the earth, not only because he is the most arrogant of all beings, but also because his bodily structure is the most perfect. This splendid city, for instance, could never have been built if man had been born without a thumb. The human body is the most perfect machine. To understand how perfect it is, let's examine the laws governing the earth of which man is the favorite child. This much earth is needed to create a human being. It looks dull and lifeless, but if it could be launched into space, it would become a sphere, a little moon. This means that Earth has its own way of thinking and a will of its own. These forms have grown naturally, animated by the will of matter. In the same way, the human body got its shape. When matter takes a definite form, there is always some reason for it. When Earth has nothing to do, for instance, it takes the shape of a sphere, and thus it occupies less space. But if it lives, it has to create and to move. It assumes the most economical shape best suited for these purposes, one which obeys fixed geometrical laws. Despite its apparent perfection, a sphere is full of defects. A spherical man would be too small and too fat. He who leads in this world must be quick and far-sighted. And so let's give the sphere an eye. To see as far as possible, this eye must be placed as high as possible. The sphere must therefore lose its perfection. The higher it has to see from, the more oval it becomes. And so the desire to see causes a change in the shape of the body. Such a change is never brought about by mere chance, but always according to definite geometrical principles. If man had eyes in his toes, he would not see a handspan away from his nose, and he would still be fighting the ants. Having our eyes where they are, we can see the horizon at a 20 miles distance. The higher we stand, the better we can master animals and nature. Of these three objects, the crocodile perceives one, the dog two, and man makes out all three. This is why the sphere, like the torso, becomes elliptical, elongated at the top. Eyes placed up high to see far, long legs to go far, and long, long arms to reach far. That's what nature does to control space and time with the minimum of matter. This elementary machine contains all the fundamental requirements: an eye to see, two hands to work, and two wheels to move about on. But it is still far from being a real human being. And farther still from being a female. The shape of the human body is not the result of some fanciful invention. The shape of each part is determined by necessity, regulated by a principle which gives the greatest result for the least effort. Try to attach the arms or the legs to any other part of the body, and you will see that the result is negative. In this circle, which are the 4 points farthest away from the center? In the oval and the human torso, the most distant points are the same as in the circle. The arms and the legs must be attached to them because they are the most economical. The hands and feet have the greatest area of control, the greatest height, the greatest width, and the greatest stretch. But the oval is too rigid, and so it splits into two parts in order to become more flexible. The upper part becomes lighter and becomes the chest. The extremities of the two bones in the back coincide with the two upper points of the oval. Under the apparently vague form of the skeleton, there is a determined geometrical design. The arms are fitted into the two upper corners. The legs begin from the two lower points and can do the work of two wheels, each as high as a man. Two spokes of the wheel are sufficient. The rest are superfluous. Legs are more economical than wheels. They are lighter, they can jump, run upstairs, and kick a ball. The weight of a cart falls on the hub of its wheel. It is the same with the weight of the body. This bone, for instance, is shaped to support any weight with a minimum waste of matter. Like a bridge, a bone is hollow inside, and the entire weight is supported by a series of bone arches. The best engineer couldn't have invented a more economical structure. Its form is neither strange nor undefined. It is the most economical. See how this bone is attached to the pelvis. A wheel turns only around its own axis. Man needs a wheel moving in all directions. Here you see the top of the thigh bone, the axis of the human wheel. It is fitted into the alveolus, and even the strongest pressure couldn't remove it because of the atmospheric vacuum inside the cavity. Thus, the two bones can move freely in any direction, and they are bound together more by sympathy than by a physical tie. So, every bone, every joint, works in the most natural way. Every joint works like a lever, the most elementary machine we have. The two bones of the forearm turn around their own axis. If they could not do so, man wouldn't be man. Why, he couldn't even shave. A motor is needed to make this machine work. A motor simpler and less noisy than those made by man. The human leg also is a lever. Its motor must be particularly simple. A straight line making a curve, and there's your motor. The two ends of the line approach and recede. The lever is in action. And two lines which curve, that is a muscle, the simplest motor we have. This is the simplest machine. In this way, the arm moves, and the leg, and the whole human body. Each of these knots of muscles is an independent motor. The shape of each part of our body is determined by the addition of the muscles which drive all the levers. They are silent motors obeying the commands which are issued by the brain. Why has man been made this way? He couldn't have been made differently because he couldn't be simpler. Geometry and mathematics are just one way to help us explain the life of matter. They only reflect man's rigid, complicated, and childish mind. Even if nature expresses herself in precise forms, she will never show too much of the laws which govern her. As man gradually explores her kingdom, she always manages to retain one more secret still hidden.